Here we are, everybody. What's ghouling on? Hope you all are out there doing absolutely fantastic. It's your old pal, the Grand Duke of Spook, Chris Bell, all jazzed up on that tasty pedal Java coffee. Now, I know I'm moving a little quick tonight, and it's because we don't have much time. Everything's been so hectic this month that I still wanted to try to get an episode in. So I was lucky enough to sit down with a fantastically ghoulishly good friend of mine, the director of Candy Corn, Mr. Josh Hasty. Josh is going to sit down with me. He's going to tell me all about this fantastic new thing that he's been doing called Josh Hasty's 13 Days of Candy Corn, where he's giving people an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at his first full-length feature film, Candy Corn.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and ghouls, welcome to the deadliest show on earth.
Why don't we just do it at his house like we always do?
Yeah, I'm with Steve on this one.
You guys are unreal.
This year, it's gonna be bigger and better. We're gonna wait for him back behind their trailers. When he gets there, we'll rough him up. Hey, fella. Strip him down. And then let him run down the midway like the freak show that he is.
For thou who sleeps in stone and clay, heed this call, rise and obey. Pass again through the mortal door. Come to thou and walk once more.
What did you do?
This town has created a witch hunt and they are coming for the freaks. So, let's give them what they came for.
What the hell is going on?
No one wants to be out after dark.
Where the hell is he?
Great horror film. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I highly recommend it. Not only is Josh doing these awesome 13 days thing, he's also partnered up with some awesome sponsors like Dread from Epic Pictures, Fright Rags, Trick or Treat Studios. Shout out to Justin Mabry out there, who you'll learn about in the behind the scenes if you don't already know who Justin Mabry is, and Lively Ghosts. 4 really great sponsors that are backing Josh Hasty up on his 13 days of candy corn, and he's going to be doing giveaways, exclusive giveaways from all these sponsors. I think he just gave away a $50 gift card to Trick or Treat Studios. Do you know how much cool spooky stuff you could get with that? Roswell, we got to go get signed. Well, he already gave it away, so we can't get that one, but we're going to get signed up for some others. So go ahead, sit back, and enjoy another enthralling, there we go, that's the word I was looking for, enthralling interview as I sit down with this week's Campfire, Josh Hasty, in our
Interviews with Campfire.
What's ghouling on, my funky fiends? It is I, once again, the Grand Duke of Spook, Chris Bell, joined now in the Kreature Korner by a very good friend of mine. I feel like we've become decent friends, at least, over the past year, I could say. So I started talking with Josh last year. I guess I don't look at that. I gave your name away before I even, excuse me. Filmmaker and director extraordinaire, Mr. Josh Hasty. Josh, thank you so much for joining me in the Kreature Korner.
Thank you, sir.
So Josh and I kind of connected last year around the premiere of his film Candy Corn, which, by the way, I'm repping my Candy Corn shirt today.
Nice.
As always, for those of you who have not seen it, what are you even doing at this point? It's gone all the way to Germany. I mean, if you've not seen it, what are you doing with your life? You don't even deserve to call yourself a horror fan if you haven't seen Candy Corn. So Josh and I linked up around the time that he was about to release that film last year, and I think we became pretty good friends. So Josh, for those fools out there who haven't seen this movie, give them a little bit of background on what it's all about.
Yeah, well, Candy Corn is my love letter to the things that I love about the slasher genre.
it's a film that, quite frankly, just a few friends of mine and myself got together and embarked on. And it's crazy, like you said, that it's went to Germany and I think 14 countries now in the last year. And it's pretty wild that it's turned into that and that it's found the fan base that it has, because it really is just a passion project. It's a love letter, and it's a story about a mentally handicapped kid who gets accidentally killed by some bullies in this small town in Ohio, and a ringleader of a freak show played by Pancho Moeller brings him back to life to seek revenge on the night of Halloween. So, it's again something we weren't really trying to reinvent the wheel or anything like that. It was just our fun little homage to Halloween, the season, and to all of the films that made us fall in love with this subgenre.
Yes, and you pulled it off so well. I mean, from giving it such a John Carpenter feel to all the little like Twin Peaks and Crows Easter eggs that are all littered through it for the people that paid attention. It's so well done. And how long did you work on Candy Corn before you even actually got to start filming it?
Before we started filming, it was probably about maybe a year of writing the script.
Mm-hmm.
Took, a few weeks to maybe a month and a half. And then the process of raising the money was incredibly challenging. We didn't do it the right way. We didn't, when you make a movie the right way, you get the script done, and the very next thing you do is you have a line producer or production manager do what they call a budget breakdown. And so they go through the entire script, and their expertise is knowing what it's going to cost to do all of these things. If a head gets cut off, or if it's raining in a scene, everything down to what the permits are going to cost. And I admittedly didn't know that whenever we did Candy Corn. I just wanted to make a movie.
I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, so we basically we tried to crowdfund it. It was, while I'm very appreciative of everybody that contributed to that, it was a failure in the sense of we didn't meet our goal. It was great that we got to that sort of kickstarted the fan base, I think.
Right.
And a lot of people, they now had an investment in this project, and that really helped me continue to keep going, knowing that I now owed it to other people aside from myself. But when I say it was a failure, I mean in the sense that we had a goal of $50,000 and didn't even make half of it. And the thought of making a movie for $50,000 is laughable now, but we shot a couple days with that money that we raised. It was like 22 grand. That got us 2 days of filming.
Oh my God.
Because we did it in LA, and you have to have all these permits, and you have to have permission to be in places. When you start dealing with the actors like Courtney Gaines and Pancho, they are SAG actors. So there are fees that come along that I didn't know about at the time, that you have to pay SAG and union fees.
Wow.
And nobody was making a bunch of money. It's not like Courtney and Pancho were, had this outrageous price or anything. They loved the project and really wanted to be a part of it. So they did it for as little as they possibly could, according to the union. But, you don't think about, the fact that you have to feed everybody on the crew twice a day, and all the stuff you have to rent and all of that. It was incredibly, incredibly green and naive. So it took a long time. It took a year probably from the time I finished the script just to get the first couple of days filmed. Right. And then after that, it was another 4 months before we raised a little bit more money to get another 4 days shot. And then after that, we raised enough money to finish the movie, which the whole movie, when I say that, what I mean is we raised enough money to figure out how to finish the movie. So lot of people don't know this. I don't think anybody publicly knows this, but I actually had to cut out 20 pages of the script just to finish it. So it's funny when I see people complain about things they don't like about the film. I'm like, yeah, me too. I would have loved for it to have more of this person in it, or to have been able to afford that, but I had to cut 20 pages out of the script.
Oh my God.
And it was just to get it done, you know. And that happened once we brought on the last, like, basically the last week of filming. We finally brought on someone who kind of wears a lot of hats, but on this particular project, he was the assistant director. But on a lot of other projects, he is what they call a unit production manager. And his job is to do what I was kind of describing earlier, go through and make the budget and the schedule. And when he looked at what we had left to shoot, he was like, this is never going to happen. In any world is this going to happen. And so, yeah, so he told me straight up, he's like, look, you know, your method isn't working. You know, raising a little bit of money, shooting, you raise a little bit more, you shoot a little bit more. You have this amount of money now that we got from Local Boogeyman. If you want to spend this the best you can, you need to cut out. I mean, he went through and mathematically figured it out. Like, you have to, in order to get this many pages shot in a day, it costs this much money per day. You have to cut out 20 pages. And so, yeah, it was
like what?
That was a wild, tangled answer to your question, but welcome to talking to me.
Yeah, but that's why I love talking to you. But that just goes to show these people out there that think like, oh, well, he just wants us to pay for him to make a movie, so he's gonna crowdfund it. Like, you don't even know what it begins to take to even look it through the camera lens to start the film.
Yeah. Well, it's funny when I see people bitch about crowdfunding. The biggest mistake that we made was not realizing, well, we made a lot of big mistakes, but with crowdfunding specifically, not realizing the fact that all the things you're promising people have to be paid for with the money they're giving you. And so I used to be like really apologetic about that when people would reach out and they're like, hey, because it took a long time. The crowdfunding campaign was a little over 3 years ago. And the movie is just now coming out in some countries.
Yeah.
And so I'll get messages, and most people are really cool about it, and they follow me on Instagram, so they know the story and everything. And I'm very open with everybody about it. Yeah. But you get some people who will reach out and they're like, hey, I bought this, you know, this DVD or this whatever 3 years ago, and it hasn't showed up, man. I want my money back. And I used to be like, I'm so sorry, here's what's going on. And now I just have this sort of boilerplate response where I'm like, first of all, you didn't buy it. It was a perk. Because now I've looked at all the numbers and I'm like, so you paid us $20 for a DVD. I have to pay $10 for that DVD plus shipping. So you gave us $5 or $6 to put toward the film. Not that it's not appreciated, but it's like, it's not, you didn't buy it. It was a perk. And I think that's always my advice when people ask about, you know, how should we crowdfund or any tips on crowdfunding.
Sure.
Make sure you charge way more than it's going to cost, because you can't get away with charging, you know, store retail prices on stuff that money is for the filmmaking. So out of the 23 grand that we raised, we ended up being able to actually spend, I think it was like close to like 14 grand after we covered the costs of all of the perks, because our perks were stupid. They were like, they were awesome for the fans, but it was like, oh my God, you know, the vinyl, the VHS, the Blu-ray, you know, the tickets to the world premiere, people bought that and they don't realize like somebody pays for that. We pay for that. Right. And I don't mean to come across as if I don't appreciate it, because I do. And like I said, those people are why this thing got started and why it's built to the you know, where it is now. But that was a huge learning lesson.
Well, you know, life happens and people have to be understanding of it. Like, you know, other side, what if it was you? Like,
yeah. Well, that's the thing, is it won't be most people.
Exactly.
Most people don't. They don't want to risk anything. You know, they don't want to. I would say most people. Most people are pretty good. I mean, most people are cool when they reach out and they're you know, they're understanding. But there's some people, and I'm just like, how do you make it through a day?
Right.
This is how you communicate over a DVD.
Yeah.
Like, I always, like, if someone, you know, is like late like that, if it slipped through the cracks, I always send them extra stuff. Like, I'll send them like air fresheners or pens or whatever I have, you know, at the time, because I do appreciate it. And that's what cracks me up is like, just talk to me, you know, don't come out of the gates on fire, you know, with guns ablazing. It was a mistake.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
There's a reason for this. We can get through it together.
We're a team. Don't you worry. And
Yeah.
the thing, like you were saying too, a lot of people won't do it. There are few people I have met with the determination and the dedication of Josh Hasty. You told me last year about a story of you working with Rob Zombie doing the behind the scenes for 31. 31. Yes, you did. In Hell, Everybody Loves Popcorn.
Mm-hmm.
You were telling me that you worked. You literally had to fight every single day to keep your footage, to keep all of that being 100% you, and even to the very last day when they were saying, no, we're not releasing this, and Rob said, yeah, you are, and you got, what was it, 5 hours of behind-the-scenes footage?
Just under 5 hours, yeah.
I mean...
That's what was edited. I got, I shot 2 straight months every day for about 12 hours a day. And then a year after they wrapped 31, I went to Rob's house for 4 days and shot interview footage with him. So it was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours. I forget what the number was. I used to know, but yeah, it's that was, looking back, pretty crazy that I did that, because they could have just been like, who the hell are you? You're not doing this. And some of the producers at the time did. It's funny because that you mentioned that story, because the main producer, Rob's main producer on all of his stuff, his name's Mike Elliott.
Yeah.
He's produced a bunch of stuff since, I think his first project with Rob was Devil's Rejects. And he was the first one that called me into his office, like, very early on, and was the one that was like, hey, you need to, you know, hand over all this stuff. And there was just a bunch of stuff that was going on at the time. This guy that I had went out there with, he got sent home, and so they, like, really put me under the microscope at that point. And he was like just busting my chops like crazy, and was like, don't make eye contact with Rob, don't talk to him, just, you're here to be a fly on the wall to shoot. So it went from that to, you know, Rob realizing, like, I'm here to work and I'm going to bust my ass, and my loyalty is to you and to no one else, and that's why I'm here. And he saw that quickly, and I think relayed that to Mike Elliott. And then what's funny is Mike Elliott was a consulting producer on Candy Corn, and we've become friends since then. And it's funny because, you know, we'll joke around about how our relationship started with him telling me not to make eye contact with anybody. Right. And now he's like, he was the first person I showed Candy Corn to, and came and wanted to come on board, like, you know, to help out and make it happen. And it's just crazy how that works. But none of that would have happened if I wouldn't have just stuck my neck out and said, hey, I want to do this. Like, exactly. You know, I know there's a way things are normally done, but I don't care about the way they're normally done. I want to do them this way. And if it doesn't work out, then we can always go back to the way things are normally done. Okay. And fortunately, Rob saw that in me, and it's a crazy thing.
And now you have your own behind the scenes from your own movie that you've done, and you're doing right now the 13 Days of Candy Corn, right? Josh Hasty's 13 Days of Candy Corn. We're on.
That's right. Yes, day 2 launched today. Day 3, well, whenever this airs, I don't know, but today,
right. As of right now, in this moment, day 2 has been released.
Yeah.
And those, like, that's a great miniseries, and it was a great idea for you to put those out. Like, what sparked that? What made you want to do the series like that?
I started seeing how really the fan base was growing a lot in the last year. And I was noticing two things happening. When the film first came out, there was like a bunch of people, not a bunch, there were a handful of people that really loved the film. And then there was all these people that just like, I mean, they put some time into letting people know how much they hated candy corn. There's so many, like it's got terrible reviews on IMDb.
Why?
And it's got like so bad on IMDb. It's funny because it has like 3.5, 4 out of 5 on all the other platforms. It's streaming everywhere.
Yeah.
But that like really got to me that on for some reason IMDb it can't break. Like when it first came out that week, it had like 2 stars out of 10. And then it slowly climbed up to like 4 or something. And so I started watching all this and I'm like, man, these people really hate this thing. But that type of stuff just doesn't faze me because I know what went into it. And I'm like, the fact that the thing got out is great to me. Like, I don't care if you like it or not. So I started like noticing that there were certain people who hated it, but then they would watch the documentary on the Blu-ray, and some people reached out to me and were like, hey, and fortunately some of these people were like, hey, I did not like the movie when I first saw it. I watched the documentary and realized it's not what I was expecting. Like so much went into this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I started to notice that was sort of the blessing and the curse of candy corn, was that it had such a strong following and fan base before it even came out because people just loved, I don't know, the story, the idea, my passion or whatever. And because of that, when it came out, people who had never heard of it before or weren't interested, like when it came out, it was like top 3 on trending on iTunes. It was like for like 3 weeks one of the highest selling Halloween films or horror films throughout the season of Halloween last year. I think it was like September 17th through November 1st. It was in the top 10 on iTunes and Amazon. And so it gets in front of people that don't care how hard I worked or don't care what our story was. They see it next to, Blumhouse's Halloween or next to the big one that was out right when ours was Haunt, which was produced by Eli Roth.
Right.
And the budget of that was millions, like several millions. And ours wasn't even close, not even close to 1 million after everything was thrown in.
Yeah.
And so I noticed that people were, and it's not any fault of their own, but they see it in ranking with all these other films and they think, oh, this is going to be great. And they're completely let down when they see it because it didn't have millions, 500,000, let alone $10 million behind it. And, I thought about that, and then now it's coming out in Germany, and I started doing I was doing some interviews in some German magazines and podcasts, and they love it over there.
Yeah.
And what I noticed was some of the people I was talking to, especially over there, all of the dust sort of settled by the time they got it. So they weren't expecting it to be Blumhouse's Halloween or whatever. Right. They had seen enough of what went into it to know, like, oh, this is a super low budget indie film. And if you tell people that ahead of time, if you say, hey, I want to show you this really bad low budget indie movie. Like this had no money. It took them like 3 years to shoot this thing. They had a couple good actors, but like most of the people in this movie aren't even actors for a living. The director has no clue what he's doing. I want to show you this thing. It's gonna be there. And then if you pop it in, and with that, they go, oh, well, that's not that bad. Like, I've seen a lot worse than that.
Like,
so it was really just recently through talking to people and realizing that I was like, man, I want to get that out there, and I want to not as a cop-out or as an excuse, because the film is incredibly successful. I don't need to like make excuses for it or anything. It is what it is, but I feel like one side of the coin is that people need to realize what went into it.
Yeah.
And so these videos are literally behind the scenes photos that I've never showed before, videos I've never shown anyone before, and just me sort of talking about, like, you know, the stuff you see behind me.
Yes.
The mask, the pail, Bramford's head, all of that stuff was sculpted by Justin Mabry in his kitchen with what he had at his house. And people don't realize that, like, when I say, oh, we had a low budget. No, we had no budget. Justin and myself, for the first, 2 years, basically, year and a half, like, he paid for all of that. Justin paid for the main props and all the kills, and that's just some of it. And so I wanted people to realize that like, this wasn't done in the fashion of any movie you've ever seen that all because it was in the top 10 on iTunes or Amazon or whatever. So that was the one part, and I dived deep into that for the 13 videos.
Yes.
The other thing was just really just to kind of celebrate it, because while I am talking to that new audience, or those people who have spent these, I mean, there are YouTube videos out there with a bigger budget than Candy Corn talking about how awful Candy Corn is. And I'm like, what did you expect? You know, but I can't fault them. So I can kind of shine some light for them if they care. But I've learned that some people do, and they've let me know that. So I'm like, all right, cool. Well, the documentary was cool, the one that comes on the Blu-ray, but we didn't have that for the first year and a half. It only covers the last 2 weeks of the production. So the documentary doesn't cover Justin making this stuff in his kitchen. The documentary doesn't cover me sewing patches onto Bramford's uniform that my fiance and I went out and bought all the stuff from Goodwill and wherever else we could. None of that was documented. So this is my chance to sort of show that.
Yes.
And then the other thing is to just say thank you to all the fans, because while that conversation is happening, it's also a very important conversation, which is that people are getting, characters from this film tattooed on their body. Right. And they send me messages every single week. I get messages from an aspiring filmmaker or a huge film buff, somebody that just loves this movie and loves what went into it. I got a message the other day that I inspired someone to make their first indie film, and they named a character after me in honor of me because of Candy Corn. Wow. And I don't want my narrative to be entirely like, hey guys, here's the reason you didn't like it. I'm going to put that out there, do what you want with it, just so you know. But I also want to celebrate all of the amazing people that keep me going. And quite frankly, they don't care if it's not the best quality. They don't care if the film's budget was smaller than their, the cost of their house. It's fun for them. They enjoy the movie, and I wanted to do something that celebrated them in that way and celebrated the things that they love.
Right. And it's so cool that you were able to, like you said, with no budget, you and Justin Mabry just working together, your ability to take your friends that you have that say, hey, I have this talent, you have this talent, you have this talent. Let's bring these talents together and do something incredible with them. And Candy Corn was born.
Yeah. And there was really just a few of us when we first started. Probably about a quarter of the film that you see finished is myself, Justin Mabry, our production designer Sean McKinney, and our DP Ryan Lewis. As far as crew goes, and some other people would come in and out, but that was it. It was just that's how naive I was 4 years ago, and how naive all of us were, that we could do that, but we did it. And that's the other thing that I love, is you can't tell throughout the movie that every single scene just about is filmed in 2 different locations or filmed a year apart from each other. The biggest example I can point to is every exterior in the movie was filmed a year and a half before the rest of the film. We shot just that stuff because I had to have it in the fall time. I had to have it in the town that I grew up in. There were very specific things that I wanted. Sure. And so Courtney got an investor interested that gave us just enough money. I wanted to shoot for 7 straight days there. He gave us enough money to do 4. So we crammed all of that into those 4 days there. Whoa. He couldn't raise any more money to do, shooting for another year and a half. Right. So it's, when I look at that stuff, that's why people ask me all the time, like, how do you deal with, people like ripping apart what you put your heart and your soul into? I'm like, they don't know. Mm-hmm. They don't know what I put into it. And it's because I did all of that. I know I was there. I can make YouTube videos. I did 13 of them last week. Yeah. I know what goes into that. And I know what goes into making a feature film. One of them is significantly more difficult than the other. Mm-hmm. And so if someone's going to bitch about it or rip it apart or whatever, thanks for watching. You know? That's like, I don't know what to tell you.
Are going to rip apart anything and everything because it's cool to not like stuff.
Yeah.
You can't make everybody happy, so.
Nope. Shouldn't even try.
Not at all. And so these 13 days have been coming out. Candy Corn got released. You've got so much going on. You've had so much going on, Josh. And everybody that hasn't, go over to Instagram TV. Do you have it anywhere else that's not?
No, it's just only on Instagram right now.
Instagram right now. Pop over there, follow him at Josh Hasty, and check out these 13 days because we're only on day 2 as of today, and I've been loving it. I don't want to give anything away because I want people to go watch the video, but you've been dropping some cool stuff in there just in the first 2 days. And so, Josh, do we have anything else to look forward to that Josh Hasty's putting together, that he's working on, that he's got in his secret chamber of secrets?
Nope, I quit. I'm going back to school. Yeah, I've started teasing a little bit that I'm working on my next feature. I just finished the script earlier this summer, and we're now in development on that. So we've got probably about 6 people working right now on basically what I described earlier is the right way you're supposed to do it. So sooner than later I'll be announcing what that is, but this is a project that I actually started writing the script during one of the hiatuses in Candy Corn. Oh, wow. And I started it because I was so angry during that process because this kept getting jerked around so much by, once we started talking to people in LA and Hollywood producers, mm-hmm. all the stereotypes are real, are true. So I was so pissed off and I started writing this script with no limits, just like this is, so much anger in it. And I just wanted to let down the creative guard and just write what I wanted to write.
Yes.
I'm incredibly proud of it. It is, we've put together an amazing little team so far that really gets it and has worked on some phenomenal stuff. So it's going to be light years ahead of what I did with Candy Corn as far as production value goes, as far as just story, everything. I mean, I'm incredibly proud of it. So I'll be announcing that sooner than later. But the other thing that I'm really focused on right now that I'm really proud of is I host a weekly meditation with the David Lynch Foundation in LA.
Yes.
And I after Candy Corn got really depressed and got really bad anxiety, and so I tried transcendental meditation and really loved it, and it changed my life. And I started connecting with other creatives that I found out did the same thing.
Yeah.
And in the last year, I connected with the David Lynch Foundation in LA, and we put together this weekly group that's free for people to call in, creatives of any type. We now have people from all over the world that call in every week and meditate with us. And it's been amazing. What's that?
So I've gotten to sit in on a couple.
Nice. Yeah. So, yeah, and I think that's super important. That's like a not sexy thing that exists that people don't really want to talk about because it's not cool. But I'm a huge advocate of mental health, especially in the creative field.
Yes.
It can be very damaging, and working in this field, any creativity really, but especially in filmmaking, my personal experience that I can speak to is that it can be incredibly lonely and depressing at times, and that compounds and does nothing but damage. And so, you know, it's been really amazing to start to connect with other creatives who didn't know there was this option. So yeah, that's the other thing I would love for people to know about. You can go to my website, joshhasty.com, and there's a link on there. You can sign up. It's completely free, and you come meditate with us.
Yeah.
The David Lynch Foundation.
It's a great time. Like I said, I've sat in on a few, and it really is a very healing, nice way to, especially just, even if you just had a really stressful day and you're trying to just reset for the day, for the week. It's so nice. And it's so nice that you're doing that. It's such a wonderful thing that you're doing. So thank you for doing that.
No, I think it's a magic pill that I basically, realized. I didn't invent it or anything. It's been around for, hundreds of years or whatever it is. And when I realized that everybody thinks like I'm working for TM or the David Lynch Foundation because I talk about it so much. And when I tell them I don't, I just want to share it with people. Yeah. And I'm proud to be working with them, but I'm not like on payroll or anything.
Right.
And they don't believe me. I'm like, when you hear a really good band,
yeah,
you're not going to keep it to yourself. You're going to tell your friends about it.
Exactly.
Or, if you remember when we used to be able to go to restaurants and you would have food that you really liked. Every single person has said, oh my God, you have to try this. Absolutely. That's how it is for me with TM. It's like,
yeah,
changed my life. Why would I not tell everybody about it? Like,
yes.
now I've got people who message me who literally were depressed and suicidal, and over the last several months of meditating, reach out and thank me. And I'm like,
wow,
that's why. That's why everybody needs to know about this. So I'm glad that you've done it, and I'm glad you've got that.
Yes, it was wonderful. Believe it or not, people can do things for not money, not for money. They can do things because they just love to do them and want to help people. Go figure.
Yeah, can't make a movie without money.
You gotta have movie money.
But when it comes to meditating, you can do it every single day, twice a day, for free.
Absolutely, no charge there. So, Josh, thank you so much for joining us here in the Kreature Korner again on the new show. I'm glad that you've come to the new format with us, and thank you for sitting in with the video on us and everything. Everybody needs to get out, watch Candy Corn if you haven't. Follow Josh over there on Instagram so you can check out his awesome 13 days of candy corn, and then pop over to his website and sit in on a wonderful healing transcendental meditation with Josh. It's awesome. Seriously, it's a great time. Josh, thank you so much, buddy.
Thank you, Kris. Appreciate it, man.
Guatemala and Antigua from Pedal Java. Horrific. Josh, thank you so much for sitting down with me. If you're watching out there, I hope you enjoyed what we did here tonight. And everybody out there, if you're tuned in, I hope you're tuned in. What are you doing if you're not tuned in? Be sure to go to joshhasty.com. Go follow Josh Hasty on Instagram to check out all 13 days of his Candy Corn Behind the Scenes series. You can get caught up on any that you've missed. And make sure that you get signed up and checked in, and watch out for all these giveaways that he's doing from his awesome sponsors like Dread, Trick or Treat Studios, Fright Rags, and Lively Ghosts. That's right, 4 phenomenally, fiendishly frightful sponsors coming at you from Josh Hasty and the 13 days of Candy Corn. And if you haven't done so already, also go buy Candy Corn and watch it and enjoy it, and join the rest of the world, even Germany out there, join the rest of the world in realizing the greatness and the brilliance that is Josh Hasty and Candy Corn. I'm even repping my Candy Corn shirt. That's how much I love this shirt. And that movie and Josh Hasty, we're best friends now. Thanks for joining my coalition of best friends. And until the next time, keep those eyes peeled, my funky fiends, because there's always more coffee and more creepy ghouling on in the Kreature Korner. Bye-bye. I just want to thank you all so much for tuning into these videos. I had a lot of fun making them, so I hope you enjoy watching them. I definitely could not do any of this on my own though, so I have a lot of people that help me, and I'd like to give a little shout out to all those people that do help me. Mr. David Cunningham, first and foremost, for editing and filming all of these videos. Like I said, couldn't do it without him. As well as all our other wonderful sponsors who help make this show possible, like, of course, Pedal Java, who provides us with all our delicious coffee that we get to try out every week, and I hope a lot of you are trying out for yourself as well. Go over to pedaljava.com right now, order up your beans. It's a great price on a gourmet bag of coffee. And also, if you live in the Knoxville area or surrounding areas, they do free local delivery, so you can't miss out. Once again, that's pedaljava.com. Go over there right now, order some of your beans. GOBLINHAUS, get on over to GOBLINHAUS.com, give him a follow on Facebook for all of your horror merchandising needs. He has all kinds of spooky t-shirts featuring some of your favorite horror icons and his own twists and his own art. He's got vintage toys, he's got toys that look vintage, he's got horror patches, horror t-shirts, horror hats, anything you could possibly imagine, you can get over there at GOBLINHAUS.com. The Mystic Orb in Clinton, Tennessee. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram, as well as their Etsy shop. They are here to fulfill all your gemstone jewelry, herbal baths and teas, and any kind of cool witchy thing that you could possibly desire. They've also got a pretty cute cat down there named Harriet, so be sure to come out to Clinton and check out the shop for yourself. Screamville Haunted Attraction. That's right, our good friends over at Screamville are always in for a spooky good time. So this haunt season, be sure you get out to Knoxville and check out Screamville. Speaking of haunted attractions, if you're out in Oneida, be sure to stop off at Outbreak on Main. Also owned by the people who own the Black Cat, also in Oneida. As a matter of fact, that haunt is right in the back of their shop. So you can do a little bit of shopping and you can do a little bit of getting spooked out there at the Black Cat and Outbreak on Main. And last but not least, H3 Power TV, your veteran-owned internet entertainment consultant. For just $20 a month, you can have access to thousands and thousands of live TV channels, international TV channels, movies, and sports. All you have to do is call 865-314-0624 to find out exactly how to get hooked up with H3 Power TV. Works with almost all smart TVs and smart devices. You put it right there on your phone or tablet and you can broadcast it to your TV with all those channels, movies, and sports stuff like I said. So once more, just call 865-314-0624 to find out exactly what you have to do to get H3 Power TV. And as always, keep those eyes peeled, my funky fiends, because there's always more coffee and more creepy ghouling on in the Kreature Korner. Bye-bye.